Okay, so 30 days ago, I did something that honestly felt kind of stupid at first. I committed to investing exactly $5 every single day, no matter what, for a full month. Not $5 when I felt like it. Not $5 on payday. Every single day. Rain or shine. Broke or not broke. And I need to tell you right now, what actually happened over these 30 days was not what I expected at all. Not the numbers, not the mindset shift, not even the way it messed with my head in week 2. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly whether this is worth doing yourself. And honestly, some of what I found out kind of surprised me. Let's start with why I even did this in the first place. I kept seeing this idea online that if you just invest $5 a day, you'll be a millionaire by retirement. And honestly, my first reaction was, that sounds like clickbait math. That sounds like one of those numbers that looks amazing on a graph, but falls apart the second real life gets involved. So instead of just trusting the math, I decided to actually live it for 30 straight days and track everything. The money, the friction, the psychology, all of it. No cap. Day 1, I set up an automatic transfer of $5 into a brokerage account, straight into a simple low-cost S&P 500 index fund. Nothing fancy. No meme stocks. No crypto gambling. Just the boring, proven stuff. Day 1 felt easy. Honestly, it felt almost pointless. $5 is nothing. It's less than a fast food combo meal. It's the kind of money you lose in your couch cushions and don't even notice. I remember thinking, this is gonna be the most boring video I've ever made. Days 2 through 7 were honestly uneventful, and that's actually important to mention, because most people expect some dramatic story. But the real story of small daily investing is that it's supposed to be boring. The automation just ran quietly in the background. $5 out, shares bought. Repeat. By the end of week 1, I had $35 invested, which, let's be real, is not going to change anybody's life. But here's the first thing that surprised me. I started checking the account. Not because $35 mattered, but because watching shares get purchased automatically every single day created this weird little dopamine loop, like a tiny win showing up in my pocket daily. Week 2 is where things actually got interesting, because this is where real life started testing the habit. I had an unexpected car repair bill hit on day 11, and my brain immediately went, just pause the $5 for a few days, it's fine, you'll catch up. And this is the exact moment I think most people quietly fail this challenge. Not because $5 a day is hard financially, it's genuinely not, but because the moment life gets even slightly inconvenient, the brain looks for permission to stop. I didn't pause it. I paid the car repair separately and let the $5 keep running. And not gonna lie, that felt like a bigger win than any dollar amount on the screen. By day 14, halfway through, I had $70 invested, and the market had actually dipped slightly that week. So technically, my account was showing a small paper loss. And this is honestly the part I think is most valuable for anyone watching this who's nervous about starting. Seeing red numbers on a $70 account taught me way more about staying calm during market dips than any amount of reading ever did, because the stakes were so low that I could actually practice not panicking, instead of learning that lesson for the first time with real money on the line. Week 3, I started noticing something I didn't expect at all, a mindset shift around spending. Because I was tracking this daily, I started mentally categorizing purchases as, this is worth more than my daily $5, or this isn't. A $6 coffee started feeling different once I'd built this daily habit of treating $5 as something valuable and automatic, not something to casually swipe away. I want to be clear, I didn't become some extreme minimalist overnight. I still bought coffee. But the awareness itself was the unexpected result, not the deprivation. Day 21, 3 weeks in, I hit $105 invested, and I did something I told myself I wouldn't do. I calculated the theoretical long-term math just to see it in black and white. At a realistic 8% average annual return, $5 a day invested consistently for 30 years comes out to somewhere around $220,000. Not instant millionaire status like the clickbait claims, but genuinely life-changing money that came from something smaller than a daily latte. And seeing that number, after only 3 weeks of actually doing it, hit different than seeing it in some random internet post. Week 4 is where the friction really tested me, because this is when a friend invited me on a spontaneous weekend trip that I hadn't budgeted for. And again, the automatic instinct was, pause the investing app for the trip, resume when you're back. This time, I actually opened the app to pause it. My thumb was literally hovering over the toggle, and I stopped myself and asked, is this actually about the $5? Or is this about wanting an excuse to feel like I'm being spontaneous and free? I left it running, went on the trip anyway, adjusted other parts of my spending instead. And honestly, that was the moment I realized this challenge was never really about the money at all. It was about whether I could keep a promise to myself when nobody was watching, and there was zero real financial pressure not to. By day 30, the actual final number was $150 invested, plus a small amount of market growth on top, landing right around $152 and change. Not life-changing in the short term, and I want to be honest about that, because a lot of these videos oversell the drama of small numbers. What actually changed wasn't my bank account, it was 3 specific things. First, the automation removed willpower from the equation entirely, which meant I never had to decide to invest. I just had to not actively stop it, and that's a much easier psychological bar to clear every single day. Second, tracking a tiny daily habit built something way more valuable than the $150. It built actual proof to myself that I follow through on financial commitments, which sounds small, but if you've ever struggled with money before, that kind of self-trust is honestly rare and valuable. And third, seeing the real long-term math after actually living the short-term reality changed how believable it felt. It's one thing to read, $5 a day equals $220,000 in 30 years on a random finance post. It's a completely different thing to have personally felt what $5 a day costs you and what it doesn't cost you for 30 real days. So here's my honest take. If you're thinking about trying this yourself, the money in month 1 will feel almost embarrassingly small. And if you're doing this for the dollar amount after 30 days, you're going to be disappointed. But if you're doing this to build the actual mechanism, the automation, the daily awareness, the proof that you can follow through, that 30-day version of you sets up a completely different trajectory than the version of you who keeps waiting for some bigger, more worth-it amount to start with. If you're going to try this yourself, here's exactly what I'd suggest based on what I learned. Automate it, so you never have to manually decide. Put it in a boring, low-cost index fund instead of chasing anything flashy. Don't check it obsessively in the first week, even though you'll want to. And specifically pay attention to the moments life gives you a legitimate-sounding reason to pause it, because those moments are actually the entire point of the experiment. If this made you want to try your own version of this challenge, smash that like button, subscribe, because I'm documenting more real money experiments like this every single week, not just theory. And drop a comment telling me, would you actually be able to keep $5 a day running for 30 straight days without pausing it once? Because honestly, that question matters way more than the dollar amount ever will.